I was 19 and working part-time as a cashier at the local Walton's department store when the manager asked if I could stay late and work the graveyard shift for Black Friday. I really needed the extra cash for Christmas gifts, so I enthusiastically agreed. Little did I know just how terrifying that decision would be. That Thanksgiving evening at 11 p.m., customers poured into the store like a flash flood, a crushing sea of humanity on a relentless pursuit for bargains. As one of the few register lanes open, lines quickly stacked up at my station. Frantically, I scanned items as fast as my wrists would flick, trying to keep up with the aggressive hordes. By 2 a.m., the crowds had thinned just enough that my supervisor allowed me to shut down for a quick 15-minute break. As I gratefully sunk down into a chair in the dingy break room, Cheryl, the evening custodian, shuffled by with her rolling supply cart. We chatted for a minute about the crazy night before she wished me a happy Thanksgiving on her way out the door into the parking lot for a smoke. Through bleary eyes, I gazed longingly out the filthy window, excited to soon be driving home to my cozy bed. But 5 minutes had barely passed when Cheryl suddenly burst back through the door, wheezing in panic. She sputtered that a disheveled man lurking by the dumpster had jumped out and grabbed her cart before sprinting away into the shadows. Poor thing was so upset, I offered to accompany her back outside while she finished her duties. The air bit at my cheeks and fingertips as we made our way across the vast parking lot. All seemed peaceful now except the distant hum of highway traffic. As Cheryl fished another cigarette from her pocket, the scratching sound of her lighter flickered against the silence. I gazed absently at the moon, awaiting her signal that she was ready to head back inside. Next thing I knew, powerful arms locked across my torso, pinning my elbows to my side. I barely had time to gasp before a gloved hand slapped over my nose and mouth, blocking my scream. Out of my peripheral vision, I saw Cheryl's terrified face staring back at me as she was captured as well. Blinded by panic, I thrashed with all my might as the aggressive stranger dragged me swiftly backward through the shadows. But his vice-like grip only cinched tighter while my rubber-soled shoes found no traction against the icy pavement. Within moments, my attacker had hauled me to an idling van hidden in the far corner of the lot away from security cameras. The side door slid open, and I was brusquely launched inside onto the grimy floor. Before I could scramble up, the door slammed behind me with a muffled thud. Through the dark tinted windows, I glimpsed 2 more shadowy figures force a bound and gagged Cheryl into the back seat. Tires peeling, we immediately shot out of the parking lot as I pounded frantically at the windowless walls. My gut churned with terror, contemplating my fate at the hands of these monsters. After 20 agonizing minutes blazing through the night, we left the city lights behind us. An overwhelming sense of hopeless solitude crushed down on my trembling body. Suddenly, the van lurched off the main road, tires crunching onto a gravel surface. When we finally rolled to a stop and killed the lights, my breath came in panicked rasps. After what seemed an eternity, doors creaked open and multiple sets of footsteps shuffled around the vehicle. Without warning, the van's double doors whipped violently open behind me. Prepared to fight for my life, I spun around with fists raised. There stood 2 police officers with flashlights and guns drawn, and behind them a terrified but relieved-looking Cheryl. The kidnapper and his partner lay handcuffed and face down on the dirt. I had never felt as blessed as in that moment to see those beautiful, shining badges. After that, I strictly avoided the frenzied shifts like Black Friday. My graveyard encounter in the parking lot taught me all too clearly how vulnerable we become when we sacrifice sensibility for the sake of some holiday deals. Cheryl and I will forever share the trauma bonding of that pre-dawn nightmare. My best friend Amy and I have made it a tradition to spend our Thanksgiving evenings bargain hunting all the big Black Friday sales. There's just something exhilarating about scoring amazing deals in the midst of total chaos. This year, though, we got more than we bargained for. Or should I say, more clowns than we bargained for. Eager to take advantage of all the doorbuster deals, we powered through our T-Day feasts and arrived at the Mega Mart Superstore right as their 10 p.m. Thanksgiving opening was announced. The chill bit at our cheeks while we waited in line amongst the hundreds of other die-hard shoppers. As soon as those sliding doors parted, a tidal wave of frenzied folks bottlenecked into the entryway. Amy and I rode the human current straight back to electronics. People shoved and shouted, trying to grab up various gadgets and gizmos. One lady had a tablet clutched in each hand, ready to battle anyone who dared take one from her stash. A scruffy-looking guy marched around declaring, "I'm the electronics overlord," at the top of his lungs, while customers glanced around perplexed. Then I spotted him. A towering figure draped in an oversized neon windbreaker was wearing an incredibly creepy clown mask. He wasn't speaking or interacting with anyone, just standing there silently with his dead-eyed rubber stare. "Who comes Black Friday shopping dressed as a psychotic circus performer?" Amy whispered. I shook my head, equally baffled. Trying to ignore Mr. Weirdo Clown Man, we focused our attention on the fitness trackers, which were 50% off. But every time I looked up from the display case, that chilling clown facade was facing our direction from a short distance away. Each time we'd subtly shift spots, he would gradually gravitate closer once again. "Is this freakazoid following us?" Amy worried aloud after the third location change. My nervous belly agreed as we speed-walked our cart to Housewares on the opposite side of the massive store. But sure enough, within 60 seconds, that rainbow windbreaker and red-nosed mask hovered at the outskirts of the aisle. Thoroughly creeped out, we ditched our cart in search of an exit path furthest from our new friend. But exiting into the frosty parking lot, I breathed a sigh of relief seeing no signs of Mr. Chuckles nearby. Our peaceful stroll to Amy's CRV was abruptly interrupted by the flinging open of a passenger door just one row over. There was our clown crawling out of an idling dark minivan occupied by 3 additional masked bozos. Before we could react, the van peeled out and swerved directly behind us, close enough I could see the costume store price tags dangling from their floppy costumes. "Gun it!" I hollered at Amy, now behind the wheel. Tires squealing, we barely dodged a collision with the rule-breaking vehicle now chasing us straight through a red light. My panicked gaze darted back just in time to glimpse the Dollar Tree price sticker still attached to our leader's mask. But luck wasn't on their side. Flashing police cherries quickly appeared in the clown's rearview mirror. Amy and I exhaled tremendous relief as the van pulled to the curb and 4 very out-of-place looking clowns exited with hands up amidst the otherwise ordinary shoppers. We decided to call it an early night on deal hunting, and I now have an permanent aversion to anything clown-related. I've owned Wilson's outdoor supply shop for over 20 years now. Through booming summers and painfully slow winters, I've always managed to keep the store afloat. But no time brings in profits quite like the holidays, especially Black Friday weekend. With tourists flooding our mountain ski town, I start preparing months in advance. By September, seasonal help wanted ads go up on bulletin boards around Main Street. I'm especially grateful for the extra sets of hands this time of year organizing inventory, running registers, and helping customers. So I felt fortunate last fall when Amber and Alan applied within days of each other. Amber was friendly with all the regulars, while quiet, Alan preferred stacking shelves in the back. But they were both reliable, and I aimed to please, so I scheduled them opposite shifts. The weeks flew by, and soon Thanksgiving had arrived. All my staff were prepped for the big sales rush. Additional registers set up. Overflowing items stockpiles wheeled up from the basement storage room, security cameras double-checked. I flipped the open sign as Amy and I grabbed our walkies. "Let the retail Hunger Games begin," I announced. Hordes of shoppers poured in, snatching up tents, skis, jackets like their lives depended on it. For 13 blissful hours, customers lined up out the door. My feet barely touched the ground the entire day. By 11 p.m., the last patrons called it quits after the floors had been nearly wiped clean. Another successful Black Friday in the books. But there was still plenty to do before I could relax. Amy and I worked non-stop for another 2 hours sorting tools, restocking, reorganizing. Finally, I sent her home to get some rest with plans to meet back at 6 a.m. for day 2. I grabbed the deposit bag off the safe and headed to lock it up in the back. The storage area was dim and chilly when I pushed through the heavy metal door. I fumbled for the lights, balancing the overflowing bank bag, but I froze in place when the suit and glow revealed 2 ski-masked figures digging through boxes along the far concrete wall. My mind raced. Had I stumbled upon a robbery in progress? Were these angry customers come to raid the remaining inventory? As I opened my mouth to question them, a deafening crack exploded behind me. I spun around in horror to see 2 more masked bandits blocking the exit, one wielding a baseball bat. Before I could react, a brute force yanked my shoulder backwards. "Where's the safe, old man?" a muffled voice growled. Panicked, I answered without thinking. The thieves dragged me to the front, praising their luck of catching me working overnight alone. They snatched keys from my pockets, then forced me to kneel behind the counter, zip-tying my wrists and ankles. One robber filled a duffel bag with the entire safe's contents, while the others raided shelves. Suddenly, the storage room door creaked open. My heart sank, imagining Amy had returned, but instead, my breath caught sharp in my throat as I glimpsed Alan slip into the room carrying stacks of empty boxes. Without a word, he joined the criminal crew packing away merchandise. The truth hit my gut like a sledgehammer. Alan had orchestrated this ambush. I wallowed, helpless on the floor, watching thousands in inventory vanish out the back exit. Just before midnight, the thieves loaded the final rubber raft into their idling van outside. As the vehicle peeled away, Alan turned back with a wave and sly grin, his true self finally revealed. The next 36 hours passed in a blur. Police reports, insurance calls, disappointed Black Friday rain checks. I upgraded the security system, wary of Alan's still unknown connections. Through my rage and turmoil, though, one comforting thought emerged. By opening day next season, I'll be back in business better than ever before.